The inside of the luxury black Maybach was silent except for the low hum of the engine and the faint ticking of the dashboard clock. Jungkook's hands gripped the leather steering wheel with calculated ease, his sharp jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the road ahead. Even when he was quiet, his presence demanded attention, a dangerous kind of calm that made the air feel heavier. Did you study for your physics test today? His voice was low, cold, yet steady, the kind that made your heart skip a beat not out of affection but from a thread of unease wrapping around your spine. You flinched slightly at the sudden question, your gaze dropping to your lap as you quickly forced a smile. The kind that didn't quite reach your eyes. Yeah, I did. He glanced at you briefly as if already dissecting the truth from your tone before returning his attention to the road. You were seated quietly in the passenger seat, your fingers getting nervously with the hem of your sleeve. The sleek car moved through the city, slicing through the morning haze with smooth speed. Your professor called me yesterday. The sentence alone made your blood run cold. He said you have been distracted, not focusing in class. Your throat tightened, you couldn't look at him, not now, because he always caught it. The lies, the tremble in your voice. The shift in your eyes, he had a terrifying gift for seeing right through you. Of course, he knew. You kept staring at your lap, chewing your bottom lip nervously. You were once a top student, sharp, focused, ambitious. But ever since that night, that horrifying night, you had not been able to sleep properly, let alone study. You never told Jungkook what happened because deep down you knew if he ever found out, there would be blood on the floor before the sun could set. And not yours. Suddenly, the car came to a stop with a sharp press of the brakes. You had reached your college gears. You reached for the handle, voice soft. Thank you for the drop. I will focus from now, I promise. You opened the door, but before you could fully step out, his hand shot forward and gripped your wrist. You winced at the sudden contact. It wasn't rough, but it wasn't gentle either. His touch was possessive, cold, heavy with unspoken warnings. You tried to pull away, but he didn't let go. Instead, his fingers pushed up your sleeve, and then he saw it. The dark purplish brows blooming like ink beneath your delicate skin. His expression didn't change at first, stone cold. But his eyes, oh, those dark, venomous eyes, they froze to black eyes. How did this happen? His voice dropped on octave, deadly calm, the kind of tone that came right before a storm of violence. Jungkook, leave it. It's nothing. You stumbled over your words, desperately trying to conjure an excuse. Anything, your mind was blank. Let me go. I'm getting late for class. He growled, the curse slicing through the air like a dagger. Tell me because you are more important to me than any damn subject or school bell. Tell me who did this to you, Wine. I can't. Your voice barely made it past your lips, trembling and small. His jaw clenched tighter, eyes narrowing into something dangerous. Rage simmered beneath his skin, but it was controlled. The kind of rage that didn't scream, didn't shout, it killed. You think I won't find out? Do you think I'll sit quietly while someone lays a hand on what's mine? You shook your head, heart pounding, because you knew him. You knew the blood he had spilled if he ever found out the truth. And as scared as you were, you didn't want that on your conscience. You wanted to handle this alone, fix it quietly, before this his shadow touched it. So you yanked your arm back and ran. You didn't look back, you didn't have to. Because behind you, Jungkook stood frozen next to the car, his eyes like obsidian flames. He pulled out his phone and dialed swiftly. Put someone on her. Every second, I want reports. If she so much as breathes differently, I want to know. He hung up without waiting for a reply, sliding back into the driver's seat, his jaw tensed as he stared ahead with a faint smirk tugging at the edge of his lips. But it wasn't warm, it was cold, icy, calculated. If you won't tell me, princess, I'll just use my own ways, and you know what happens when I do. He revved the engine and drove away. The storm in his chest barely contained, but dangerous enough to devour anything in its path. You stepped through the main college building, trying to steady your heartbeat. The encounter with Jungkook still lingered in your chest, like a storm refusing to calm. Your sleeve was still slightly wrinkled where he had pulled it up, and your wrist ached from the bruise. Both the physical one and the invisible one he had left behind with his harsh words. The hallways were crowded, buzzing with noise as students moved between classes, but your ears felt numb. You just want to get through the day and noticed unseen. You clutched your books tighter and walked quietly along the corridor toward your locker. But the silence you craved never came. A familiar, mocking voice cut through the air like nails on glass. Well, look who decided to show up today, the teacher's little princess. You froze. Soyeon and her group of two other girls, Harry and Minji, approached, all wearing matching expressions of cruel amusement. Their makeup was perfect, their uniforms crisp, and their attitudes rotten. Soyeon folded her arms, her lip curled in disdain. Didn't we warn you to fail that physics test, huh? Still trying to be the topper? Pathetic. Acting like a victim and still pretending to be innocent. How cute. You didn't respond at first. You turned around slowly, refusing to let your face show how shaken you were. You can leave, I'm not in the mood. Your voice was calm, but there was a tremble you couldn't hide that was enough for them. Oh, she's not in the mood. Do you think this is over just because you said please, poor thing? The group moved closer. You backed away slightly, but it was too late. One of them shoved your books from your hands, the loud thud echoing across the now empty hallway. Minji slapped your shoulder hard to be just teasing. Harry yanked your bag and pulled your sleeve again, laughing when you winced in pain. You tried to fight back, not physically, but with words. Leave me alone, this isn't a game. No, sweetheart, it's a lesson, one you still haven't learned. And then the worst happened. Someone pushed you and you lost your balance, falling harshly to the ground. Your knees scraped against the cold floor, your hands trembling as you tried to collect your books and pride at once. They laughed, they walked away like nothing happened. What none of them realized was that someone had been watching quietly from a distance. One of Jungkook's men, stationed as per his orders, had recorded the entire incident, expression unreadable behind his sunglasses. Within minutes, that video was on Jungkook's phone. He didn't waste a second. After the girls left, you gathered your scattered things, trying to ignore the sting in your knee and the burn in your throat. Your eyes welled up, but you blinked it away. You wouldn't cry, not here. As you turned to head back to class, a peon approached you hesitantly. Miss Vine, Principal Sir is calling you to the office. You exhale, frustrated. Now what? Dragging your tired feet toward the principal's office. You push the door open quietly, only to freeze on the spot. Your heart skipped a beat. Jungkook was there, standing tall in the middle of the office, dressing in all black designer suit, hands in his coat pockets. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were fire, cold fire. You breathe caught in your throat. The principal stood a few feet away, clearly uncomfortable, nervous, sweating despite the air conditioner humming in the background. Jungkook didn't even glance at you at first. Instead, he pulled out his phone and turned it toward the principal. A single tap and the video began to play. The sound of laughter of you being pushed off your books, hitting the ground. Oh, I had no idea. He stuttered, stepping back slightly as if the video itself was going to choke him. Jungkook's jaw was tight, his voice was calm, too calm. If you love your job, I suggest you make sure this never happens again. He turned slightly, still not fully facing you. Now tell me, where are those girls? Just then, a female staff member knocked and entered the room hurriedly. Principal sir, I checked every classroom and hallway. That group of girls, they are now here in the college. You looked at her in disbelief, then turned to Jungkook, who now had the faintest smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. The kind of smirk that said he already knew. He didn't even blink, he swallowed realization sinking in. He already got to them. Strange. They were here this morning. I will notify you as soon as I find them. Jungkook nodded slowly. Make sure you do. Without another word, he turned toward you and gestured with his hand. No words, just authority. You followed because saying no to Jungkook wasn't just dangerous, it was impossible. The drive home was silent, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy with everything unsaid. Your heart thudded with a mix of fear and a strange sense of safety. You knew Jungkook was dangerous, cold, and ruthless, but in moments like this, it felt like he was the only one who would protect you, even if it meant painting the streets red. The rest of the ride was drenched in silence, but not an ordinary one. It was the kind of silence that hung in the air like a predator's breath just before a kill. The kind that made the world outside the car blur as if nothing else mattered except what was coming next. You sat still in the passenger seat, hands tightly clutching your back, heart pounding in your chest like a trapped bird. Jungkook didn't speak, not once. His jaw was clenched, his eyes dark and unreadable as he drove through the iron gates of his private mansion. An architectural masterpiece laced with secrets and shadows. The sleek car came to a halt, and before you could ask anything, he stepped out, walked around, and opened your door. Again, no words, just silence. You followed him reluctantly, stepping inside the grand marble floored hallway, the heavy scent of leather and cigars lingering in the air. But instead of heading upstairs or toward the living area, Jungkook walked down a hallway you had never noticed before. One that led deeper, colder, darker. You hesitated, but he simply looked over his shoulder, eyes sharp and expression cold. You obeyed. Each step down the spiral staircase was slow as the lights flickered above, casting haunting shadows on the concrete walls. The further you descended, the more you felt your chest tighten, and then the air shifted, and the bottom was a thick iron door. Jungkook unlocked it with a fingerprint scan, and what lay beyond sent a chill crawling up your spine. The room was large and dimly lit, lined with metallic cabinets, chains polished into concrete walls, and a single old fashioned chair in the middle. Stained, worn, and terrifyingly still, you instantly understood. This wasn't a room, it was a punishment chamber. The personal hell where Jungkook delivered his definition of justice. And then your eyes widened in horror because chained to the far wall, exhausted, bruised, and terrified, were the same three girls. Soyun, Harry, Minji. Their once perfect makeup was smeared, their uniforms wrinkled and dirty. They looked like they'd been down here for hours, maybe longer. Your throat dried. Jungkook, you spoke softly, a plea, a whisper, an apology. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. I was just scared of what you would do, but he didn't even turn to look at you. He kept walking slow like a storm moving toward its target. When he spotted a few feet from the girls, the air grew heavier, thick with fear. His voice, when it came, was quiet too quiet, but deadly. You thought I wouldn't find out? Soyeon trembled. We didn't mean to. It was just a joke. Jungkook's voice exploded. Do I look like I'm laughing? The echo of his roar slammed against the walls. You jumped, even the chains rattled. Jungkook took another step forward, and you saw it in his eyes, the madness. The calm, cold blooded kind that didn't need guns to kill. His aura was monstrous, dominating. His presence made the girls shrink into themselves. Touch her once, just once, and you thought you would walk away breathing. Minji started sobbing. We didn't know she was yours. She isn't mine. He turned now, finally meeting your gaze, and you froze because his eyes sat the opposite. They screamed obsession, possession. Then, slowly he turned back to the girls, tilting his head like a madman about to do something irreversible. You don't get to bruise her, you don't get to insult her, you don't even get to breathe the same air as her unless I allow it. Soyeon collapsed to her knees. Please, please, we are sorry, not to me. He looked toward you again, but this time his voice dropped to a growl, protective, dark, and sickly sweet. Apologize to her. The girls turned toward you in tears, trembling and broken. Why? We are sorry. Please forgive us. We will never come near you again. We swear, please just make him stop. Your breath caught in your throat. You looked at them, so helpless now, and then at Jungkook. He was watching you, like a hunter watches his most prized possession. Jungkook, that's enough. But he only smirked, lips twitching in amusement, almost like a madman savoring his creation. No, princess, this is just the beginning. No one touches what's mine, not in my word. He walked toward you now slowly, and when he reached you, he leaned closer. His fingers gently touched your chin, lifting it ever so slightly. Next time, don't hide anything from me. You think I'm a monster? He leaned in, whispering coldly against your ear. You haven't seen the half of it. And yet, somehow, the way he looked at you, it wasn't just anger, it was something more terrifying obsession. And you knew in that moment that protecting you didn't come from love, it came from possession. The man stepped forward, expression blank, and reached for a lever mounted on the wall. Chains battled, the girl screamed. Their please turned into hysterical cries as panic erupted in the air like fire. The sound of metal screams and tears clashed in a cruel symphony of retribution. You gasped, your heart thudding, turning to look at Jungkook in disbelief, but he didn't even blink. He simply smiled. A slow, sinister smirk pulling at his lips, cold, emotionless, satisfied. He turned to you, his tone suddenly soft, eerily soft. Let's go, princess. And just like that, he led you out of the chamber, the echo of female screams bouncing off the cement walls behind you. As the heavy iron door slammed shut, muffling the chaos within, Chungu didn't speak again. He didn't need to, because the message was clear. No one touches what's his and lives peacefully after.